Hey, welcome. How are you guys tonight, today, wherever you are in the world? I am Sarah West Love. Welcome, so sweet, so good to have you, so good to be had, as I like to say. I have an important message. If you haven't gotten this message yourself, which I certainly haven't met anybody that has. If you're, in the world like most of us, experiencing what people have many different perspectives of, depending on two things. One, where people take in their information, their so-called news, their whatever you want to call it, the agendas of other people, what people want you to hear, because all of it is absolute 100% agenda. None of it is, well, I won't say none, but I would say almost none of it is for any of your really benefit that you take in from a major station, etc. It's all scripted, very fine-tuned, and if you see any kind of multiple perspectives shared, that too is finely tuned to pull you in. And anyway, that's not why I came on right now. It is partly, but I have something very important to share. And then, the second thing, if people are turned off all of those things, are never engaged in television and radio and newspapers that all are feeding you. They're feeding you what they want you to be fed. A diet. You're not choosing your diet. You are being fed a diet. And there's no difference between, really. There's a little bit of variety, but not really. The scripts are almost exactly the same on every station. You can see that for years now. Again, that's some heavy stuff, and I'm not going to go into that right now. But I'm going to go into something heavier, but something I believe that realizing this will actually help lighten your load. Because the truth does set you free. The truth sets us free. The truth is freedom. So, and in your gut, in your instinct, your soul, your spirit, that's where the truth is. However, we are deeply conditioned and programmed to not listen to that gut instinct. And to not be connected to our spirit. We're shamed and ridiculed and severed. It's the oldest trick in the book. And they create religions to actually program you to disconnect, my friend, from your own spirit and your soul, your beauty. Your soul and your spirit is your beauty. It is beauty. It's not even yours. We don't own it. But we can say yours with a glee and a joy and a knowing what that means. Oh, you're beautiful. When we say that from our soul to soul, spirit to spirit, heart to heart, instinct to instinct. We know what that means. We know that's not ownership and possession. It's liberation. It's celebration of what is eternal, immortal, timeless, beyond words, and yet full of just endless words of poetry, what is spiritual, what the heart and soul and spirit, how we can express, and what is beyond words and silent, gorgeously silent. Again, I'm going to get to my main point here, but just giving these prefaces. Oh, hi. Taos. No way. Oh, how fun. I miss Taos so much. Oh, I miss it like all the time. I long for home. My sweet magic home. Actually, let's see. There's a festival. I wonder if it's happened yet. The Wool Festival. Hi. Oh my gosh. I can't believe it. I keep wondering if you are somebody, I don't recognize your handle, so I apologize. Remind me, did you find me just randomly on Instagram, or do I know you? I'm so curious if you're who I think you are. I just don't remember your handle. I'll keep talking if you answer what this message is that I wanted to share my heart. So where was I? I was talking about our spirit and listening to our gut and realizing when we're being bashed and pushed and coddled even toward a certain belief system, an agenda, and the propaganda. And it's complicated. This is where I'm leading down this path. It's complicated what's happening right now. I don't talk about this whole quote unquote so-called election thing. I would not call it that. Never have, never will. And but I applaud you that do believe in it. Gotta have. I guess we have to somebody, but maybe if we didn't, maybe we would actually create a new world if we realized what's really going on instead of believing in this fake construct, in my opinion. But it would take a tremendous amount of courage for someone to believe that it's the whole thing is a house of cards. Because then people feel really scared and really powerless that don't, we really have to pull ourselves up from the bootstraps and be really courageous as well as really crumble what needs to crumble in us. And that's really what this message, I feel compelled and just with all of my heart. And it's funny when I have people on, I sort of want to create a dialogue because I know that's what's fun for people, to dialogue and share and have this back and forth thing. But I also hope this is valuable to some people, what I'm saying and what I'm going to say. So here it is. This is my message. This is what is coming through for me to say right now to all of you in the world, all of us, all of humanity. I hear people talking about for instance, people are saying, oh, they want to come back to normal. New normal is just a horrible brainwashing thing. There is no new normal. That just never repeat that. Don't repeat these things that people that do not have your best intentions in mind that are trying to tell you to say, first of all, if you don't know that already. But I do hear people, they want to get back to things as they were before this lockdown. And my heart just, drops when I hear that, because the only people that are saying that, my friends, are people that either aren't suffering or think that they're not suffering in the way that this whole thing in the world is going. You know, you have a rhythm, you have a schedule, you have a way to live your life that was okay for you. But why my heart breaks, why I just am so shocked when I hear people say that. It is such savage. What does savage even mean? It's such a infinitely callous, infinitely ignorant, infinitely heartless thing to say. Because do you know who you're thinking about? The ones who say they just want to get back to normal and they want to just I understand lockdowns and there's all these things people want to do to end the lockdown. You know, they want to don't want to have vaccines, or they do want to have vaccines, or all this brainwashing. And that's not the solution. The solution is not getting back to normal, because what was normal was so broken. What was normal was evil. We are living, all of us, in a lifestyle almost entirely on this world, on this earth, that destroys life for so many people. Whoever isn't in the cream of the crop, who is not in the hierarchy, the top end of the hierarchy. And I'm glad some people got off, because they weren't the right people to hear what I wanted to say, and was hesitating because this isn't for them. So what I want to say clearly is that, yes, we all want to get out of this fascist lockdown, because it is a complete inhumane, evil thing that's happening. And if you don't know that, for those who don't view, or friends that don't know it, it is a very, very evil thing that's happening. It is not what you think it is. It's not for the purpose of saving your life. It's not for the purpose of protecting you from anything. It's the purpose of imprisoning you and conditioning you to be afraid. The level of surveillance, the level of censorship, the level of, I think they have, it's like for every 4 people, there's a camera. We are surveilled over 300 times a week everywhere we go. Perhaps more. That's a statistic, just a basic statistic. So again, this isn't, I sort of said my point, but I'm going to say it again. What is going on is an opportunity. There are so many people suffering. Our whole lifestyle is destroying our earth. And I am not talking at all about whether global warming is real or not. I'm not talking about left or right politicians. I will never talk about that. I'm talking about something so much more fundamental, so much more basic. And there's so much more I could say, but I won't say it here. But I will say what I'm saying because I'm saying it. We cannot. This is like a once in a existence of of the entire existence of humanity. We have an opportunity to change how we're living, to change how we're thinking, to change how we're being. To actually, so people that are thinking about, oh, I wanted to just get back to normal. You know what they're thinking about? They're thinking about themselves. That's all they're thinking about. And yeah, maybe they're thinking about other people too, let's all get back together. There are so many people suffering in this world, and they have been really for thousands of years, from the hierarchy that controls everybody, even the hierarchy that controls themselves and their own. Because if you get out of line, you're gone. That's how this world functions. That's the truth of this world. Whether you see it or you don't see it, or you know it and you just push it out of your mind, or you absolutely 1,000% know it, which more and more people do. And the thing is, those people who are running this program, who are writing these scripts, writing this brainwashing, this propagandas, this is what they're doing. This is what I'm speaking to them too. It's not good for them. They have a heart and a soul. They can't live in beauty. They can compartmentalize, have multiple personalities, and present one face to the people they see, and another face to the people that, are behind the curtains. What was his name in the Great and Powerful Oz? He wasn't great and powerful. He was a little man. I don't know if he was little in the coloring book. It doesn't matter, the little, that's irrelevant. That's irrelevant, actually. He was not spiritually connected to his spirit, and therefore he was powerless. And then he used manipulative techniques in order to make people afraid and make people believe and create an illusion of being a physically big person, that giant head on the screen that he projected. That's in the story, The Wizard of Oz, right? So little was relevant because, humans we do have this sort of primal brain that thinks bigger is scarier and bigger can hurt us. So it's the survival, and we think if we're a bigger human being, a bigger man, especially men, the protector, that's just in the DNA. It's part of the program, part of our, for bad or for good. It can be used either way. So, in The Wizard of Oz, he uses that projector to make himself this big green head on the screen. It's giant, as all the, just the television screen that people watch, and speaking and projecting fear. I mean, hello. And the Wicked Witch, so the Oz was, he was mentally deranged, insecure person, projecting himself as this domineering, all-knowing one with all the answers. Listen to everything he says, which is what television does. And And this whole theater, the whole theater of these dialogues and these, you know, people, these talking heads. Oh my God, the song, the talking heads. You know, and even before television for thousands of years, this is not new, okay? None of what's going on is new. Whatever it is that you might think is, maybe you don't think anything's going on. Maybe you think what's going on is everything that you see. But either way, it doesn't matter what you think. I mean, it does. But we have to go so much further than knowing what's going on, what's really going on behind the scenes. And, you know, just ask your gut, ask your heart, ask your soul, ask your common sense, okay? How about this? Ask your common sense if somebody that cared about you, would they lock you up in your room, like, for a year? Would they say that after a couple hours, you know, of doing one thing, then you can't do that thing after that? Well, why was it okay at that hour, but not okay after 10 or after 6? What's the difference between 25 people and 100 people? Or let's use their numbers, 60 and 6 and 6 feet. And 6 this and 6 that and 666. I mean, if you don't know, just dive a little deeper. Do you know that 100% of all people, 100%, 100%, hello, 100% of people put on ventilators died in the hospitals? Who put them on the ventilators? Yeah, those people killed them. Is anybody talking about that on the television? No, they're not. A little bit. Doctors talking about it. Real ones. Some of them don't have jobs anymore. And there's, I think, 34,000 have signed a document that these lockdowns are bad for people's health in Europe. But I'm not going to go into all of that right now. You can figure that out. You can, or not, you know. It's fascinating to see the psyche of people who don't want to hear anything. Fascinated. And most of those people are people on the left. I'm shocked. I'm like, oh my gosh, what happened to reason? What happened to common sense? They will not hear it. They do not want to hear. It's like, la, 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 la. Never in my wildest dreams would I have imagined that to be the case. But then again, I'm not a sides girl. I'm not into sides. I don't take sides. I am protective of those I love, but I don't take sides. Because I know ultimately down deep, there's something deeper going on that unifies all of us. So, anyway, that's a different topic as well. Oh my God. So, what I'm whittling down to the heart of the artichoke island. The heart of what I'm whittling down here, again, circling around the wagon, circling around, dancing around the fire of life, is to say that there's no normal for many, many, many people. Many people are suffering. long before any of this, and they have been for centuries and millennia. They have been the outcasts, the untouchables. I've said this before. You know, whoever they are. And it's not about race, but there are certain races that are, you know, the people that get the short end of the stick, to say the least, or no stick. And then with the dominant race, which is not really dominant anymore, you know, women of all races, colors, and creeds have always gotten the short end of the stick, except for the few that act like men, that act like dominators, that act like Trojan horses and bring in the murderers through or they are themselves that. You know, my heart just, I think of the native people of the Amazon rainforest, who people, not corporations, because that's not a person, contrary to the so-called LAW in this country, in the world. Corporation's not a person. People are persons, you know. Human body with a soul. And hello, a heart, where'd it go? They are culpable. And I've said this before, you know, we're all culpable for choosing this lifestyle that destroys and poisons the air, our water, our land, and consumes. We are purchasing plastic just exponentially. We are consuming poison solutions, all of these Cloroxes and detergents. I've said all of my life that detergents that we wash clothes with are one of the highest, number one causes of what you can call global warming if you like or not. I don't care what you call it, as long as you call it. Thank you, Mae West, translating. But we are poisoning our waters. If we just all I use a solution to wash all my clothes and my dishes, clean everything. It'll decrease an engine. It'll get out blood stains, grass stains. You can brush your teeth with it. You can do an enema with it. And other things. It will even help plants grow. We have to wake up that everything we do affects ourselves and other beings. And I've said this for years too, and I get this zone over in people's faces. You know, with the last election, and really any election, I mean, it's hilarious to me, people that even talk about, oh my Lord, the people that talk about global warming. Some of them live it, you know, like Julia Butterfly. She lived in a tree to stop for how many years? I don't know if it was just a year or longer, to stop the cutting down of trees and that beautiful tree that she lived in. I don't even know what happened to that forest. She wrote a book and disappeared. I know she's still active, but you know, she's not in the news. She's not living in a tree, and the news goes off of it, and we forget, and we go on to the next thing. And yet there's a new generation of activists. You know, it's like the machine of destruction is just so big, and there's so many people engaged because it's just amoral, without morals, business without morals. There's, you know, and I'm not saying I'm perfect. This is not where I'm coming from. I'm talking about all of us looking from this lens, this broadest perspective, this biggest lens is what this invitation is. It's an invitation. It's not an invitation to blame. It's an invitation for ownership, for responsibility, for awareness, for questioning, for awakening and creativity. Because if we're in denial, all you geniuses out there aren't going to come up with the answer, the solution, the processes, the creative, dynamic relationships, dynamic way of seeing things, way of doing things, way of relating, way of, I've always thought since I was a child that we have too many people on this planet. We consume too much. And I remember my father saying, "Oh no, I was wrong, There's plenty of everything on this earth." Just could never understand that. The earth is big, but not with how we're destroying things. How much nuclear toxic waste has gone in the oceans. How much tiniest particles in everything, everywhere. You know why the polar caps are melting? One of the reasons, I just found out not that long ago. They found particles of the rubber in our tires, in all tires all over the world. Because, right, our tire's bald, right? Well, where does that rubber go? Well, it's floating up into space, into the atmosphere, and it's falling back down everywhere. We're breathing it in. Nice, huh? And it's falling on the ice. And that black rubber that's made from fossil fuels, by the way, because they just have a penchant for selling every single byproduct that they have. They're very clever, making money off of every turn of the production. They don't waste. They don't waste their waste. But then they're selling their waste. And their waste is poisoning you and poisoning the air, the land, the earth, the water, and every other creature for all time. This is not retrievable. We can't go and clean up all the rubber, and we're still using rubber. So what's the solution? Can one of you come up with it? Can one of you come up with a wonderful solution to rubber freeness? Fake rubber. It's not real rubber. Because a rubber tree, we don't want to cut the rubber trees down. We can't afford that. The Amazon can't afford that beautiful natural. See, that's the thing. What do? There's so many people on the planet, see? This is the crux of the issue. So many people. So many people want to make money and be millionaires. And, oh, you can do it. The American dream, the entrepreneur's dream, and make that makeup line with plastic containers and, oh God, what did it, when the world, and baby fetuses and the circumcised foreskin of tortured, violated, raped baby boys. You wonder why men are angry. Hello. Look it up. Go watch a circumcision of a baby with a man's fingernails. They do it with men's fingernails. That's the religious way. And then he sucks it, the blood, with his mouth. There was a religious person who was, I don't know what happened to him, but he infected hundreds, if maybe more, babies with herpes. And they died. That was, how long ago was that? I don't know if it was the 90s, early 2000s. I think it was the 90s. You can look that up too. Check out, what's his name? Mr. Klopper. Clopper. He is an amazing talk. He was a Harvard graduate and a physicist and a scientist and worked at Harvard. and he gave a talk on the history and exactly what circumcision is. And if you're a man, young man, a boy, older man, a mother, a woman, a partner, a wife, a girl, you don't want men circumcised either. You're missing out, first of all, on a lot. And the men are missing out on a lot, which I think it's Eric Klopper, but I'm not sure. And the foreskin is sold into the beauty industry. So all those skin creams people are buying for youth and longevity nonsense, it's made of the suffering and the agony and the torture, the masochistic torture of babies. So, it may not be pleasant, but I think if we don't have the courage to face these things, these human suffering and injustices, the inhumanity of humanity. There is extreme inhumanity of people who run the world or think they run the world, because they really don't. Mother Nature and the source of creation runs the world. And Mother Nature is, is the vehicle of the source of creations. And we are part of that. We are part of Mother Nature. And so, we have this opportunity to all heal what has caused us to derail. Human beings have been programmed for a very long time to derail from our heart and soul and spirit. And there are, people born every generation who have their heart and soul intact, and they either get destroyed or they keep it intact. But it's the loud people are the ones that are not intact. And they seem to get in positions where they make decisions that destroy our planet. We have to stop animal testing. And I mean the torture and the horrible scientific experiments on animals. How can we allow that? People are horrified of humans killing each other. Why is an animal any less? And I am almost more serious about that than human suffering, but I'm not. But it's all equal. Animals, crabs, horseshoe crabs that are being bled to death for these. So I'm going to wrap this up and repeat it one more time. My point is, getting back to normal. We don't want normal. We want a better world. We want a better human. We want a better us. We want a better humanity. And the only way that's going to happen is if we start here. If we start right now with ourselves and take a good look. And I know a lot of people are taking a good look that have the ability to, that aren't, it's hard to take a good look. Well, we're forced to. I mean, every challenge is an opportunity, and we either die, it destroys us, or it hopefully makes us better. I don't know. Maybe there's some people that just come out worse, and I suppose they are, and they're the ones destroying things. But we don't have access to the real ones that are the most horrible people. We just don't. And if you do, good for you. Go do something about it. I don't know what that is for you, but your gut knows. Nobody can tell you. You have to listen. We have to all listen to our instincts again. Reconnect. And that's why I create, what I do on my website, sarahwestlove.com. I create something I call celestial mystical opera to help me. If I hadn't brought that through, I wouldn't have survived. this earth, the horrors on this earth. If we don't connect with our soul and our spirit and our transcendent nature, our expanded, infinite, timeless selves, whatever words you want to give it, we won't survive. We will become a Frankenstein. Although he didn't mean, it wasn't his fault, you know, it was that, I don't remember the name of Mary Shelley's, the doctor, you know, in that, because Frankenstein, that's the German way, was the monster, right? The, you know, how many of you guys know about cloning? You know, they're cloning people. Nice thought, huh? Yeah, I'm saying all kinds of things here. Where was I? Frankenstein, the doctor. So we can't, you know, I don't know who the people are that can get 6 degrees. I mean, all I know is that we can change ourselves. And that's why I'm sharing this. And if you're one of those people on the top of the heap listening to this, fantastic. You know, maybe you have a change of heart. Maybe your heart, you know, like the Grinch, melts. You know, it's a great story. I'm sending you love, all my love, all you tyrants out there. You know, all you hurt little children, I'm sending you love. The hurt child in me is sending you love. My spirit is sending you love. The one that isn't hurt, you know. My soul, every part of me, all these aspects that we carry around. Because we know we have just so many different sides in ourselves. This wild thing called the earth, human thing. Oh, I gotta sleep. Ugh. But I was just compelled. Yeah, that was funny. I was just compelled. I hope I got my message across. Still circling around the wagon. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you got out of this if you want. Send me a DM if you don't want it public. And if you want it public, let's create a dialogue and with other people. I would love it. So, yeah, stop praying for everything to get back. I mean, don't listen to me, like, stop. I mean, don't stop if you don't want to. But, I mean, why? Well, I want to ask, why are you praying for things to get back to normal? Because who's normal? Whose normal do you want to get back to? You know, what if you were at the bottom end of the totem pole? It wasn't good for you. So why don't you pray for harmony to come? Why not, instead of go back to normal, why don't we create a new language for what we're praying for, what we're asking for, what we're calling forth? Because we know our words, our thoughts are powerful. Our thoughts are things. So why not choose a prayer, a call that, oh, that's interesting. I have a session soon, so it's a good thing I did go back to sleep. I give sessions all over the world at different times because I have clients in different parts of the planet, different time zones. Why not create a prayer, light a candle, whatever your ceremony is in your heart, in your rhythm, in your culture, the culture you created, your ceremony. That invites, how about a new balance? There's no new normal. That's ridiculous. You know what normal means? It just means everybody's doing it. Why do you want to do what everybody's doing? That's not creative. That's not original. I've never liked what anybody else did. Never. Well, later on I wanted to belong, but that was the dumbest thing. But it was, understandable. We want to belong. Don't let belonging override your heart, your soul, your spirit, your own spark, your own inspiration. Listen to your heart. And if you've spent your life listening to what hurts you and who hurt you, and trying to, enacting revenge on the world, which I know you're listening, is that really how you want to live your life? Still? Because whether you're a petty tyrant, in your family, in those that you know, or whether you're running a company as a tyrant, or a school board, or you're, the principal of a school, or you have some position you think, and you're abusing that position to have a sense of dominance, and because you're terrified to feel afraid, and you're terrified to feel small, you're terrified to feel powerless, and you're terrified to feel fear, and you're terrified to feel that someone could dominate you, so then you want to dominate others because that's what people do that are tyrants. Or if you're, head of this, CDC, or head of anything, politics, tech companies, the banks, hello. Whatever position you're in, if you're doing it because you're trying to get a rise and feel alive by being important, having lots of things, dominating other people, controlling other people, telling other people what to do, hurting other people. There's a lot of people out there who are so hurt that they're coping with their hurt by hurting others. And we all, if anybody's been hurt, we could do this in the smallest way to the most gargantuan way. So, any one of us could do this in little ways, like have a little snide remark, a little sarcasm to sort of vent, right? In order to cope with jealousy, envy, sense of not being enough, unworthiness, sense of powerlessness, sense of like, well, I want to be on top, whatever the game is. And then it just ratchets up to whatever you call the most powerful person. I mean, the most powerful person is not the person with all the money. That's the most insecure person. That's the person. If you're not sharing that shit, man, there is something very, very wrong. People that are billionaires, if you're not feeding people, building beautiful circular homes and communities that are built to be environmentally sane and environmentally non-toxic. If you're not doing that and thinking of the future and of the water, if you're not doing that, which I don't, who is that has all that money? I don't know anybody that is. Do you? Please enlighten me. I mean, I know Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is fighting for, he's a lawyer, and he is, RFK's son and the nephew of John F. Kennedy, JFK, and you can find him at Robert F. Kennedy Jr. on Instagram and probably Twitter. And he's got an amazing website you can find. And he is a lawyer and has fought for our environment for decades. And now he's fighting against for medical freedom and to stop medical tyranny and stop mandated vaccines and to, these things are just poison. And if you don't have to believe me, go watch pandemicseries.com, the film. It's an acclaimed film. Over 1 billion people in the world have watched it and downloaded it. It's free. Series, SERIES.com. PLANDEMICSERIES.com. And Vaxxed, the movie.com. VAXXEDTHEMOVIE. But you can just go to VAXXED on iTunes and rent it for $3.99 or $4.99, just depending if you want to be able to watch it, infinitely versus once. And then also the other film, 1986, theact.org. 1986. So think of 1984, the book, George Orwell, and just it's 1986. It's the year that Reagan passed, created, the act. It's a legal governmental term for what they passed to indemnify all medical companies that from any kind of lawsuit and the damages they create from VAXs, VACCINES. So if that's not a red flag for you and you're like pro, it's not that I'm anti, it's if you're not culpable for creating something like that, you're hiding something. And they make so much money, and they're making money on just 86 of those things on children. And I think it's in, 2034? What year is it where they're going to say 1 in 3 children have autism and other things? It's growing exponentially with the increase of all those poison injections. You look at the ingredients list. If you knew how many millions of people are damaged from those things, you would also, if you can't question and go research, if you just don't want to hear it all, I'm not anti-VAX, I don't want to hear about it. You just have to question yourself. If you're that close-minded, turn off the television for like a month, 2 weeks, a week, 3 days, and just see if maybe your own soul, wisdom, and common sense starts bubbling to the surface instead of the cloud, the film, literally the film that is covering your own unique consciousness, untainted. If you're watching all that, you're tainted. So this is about listening within. And it's very hard to research anything anymore because it's just not on there. It's just removed. They don't want you to see it. So you have to question that. That just seems like the biggest red flag, and it just says everything. So this is an invitation, really, because we want a better world for everybody, and we want all the people that are hurt, all of us. I mean, if you haven't been hurt, oh my God, I want to meet you. If you haven't had trauma and aren't like coping with stuff that you don't even understand, like, I want your number, please call me, I want to interview you, Yeah, no, maybe you grew up, in the mountains and in beautiful fields and just lived, There are people that lived, I think Hawaii used to be pretty idyllic. I mean, not that there weren't issues, not that there weren't invaders, but we're just at an all-time high of abuse that's just passed down, and then people enact it on every. It's just, we've got to heal. We have to. I mean, the other thing is just go extinct, because that's where we're headed. It's where we're headed. And this horrible Orwellian, matrixed, it's just, there's been so many books about it. What was that thought that I didn't finish? So many thoughts I'd start about Frankenstein's maker. What was he thinking? And when she wrote that, and Geppetto is another story that was actually before that. And all these stories have been retold and given new names. And, cloning. I was talking about cloning. Yeah, that's real. Do you know? Well, that's going down the rabbit hole. Yeah. So, but the thing that you don't have to go too far outside your lane. Too far out your comfort zone, it's going to be outside your comfort zone if you're not aware of these things already. But for those of you who are still with me, that this might be a bit outside your comfort zone, free will, sovereignty, bodily autonomy, body sovereignty. These minds that aren't masters. They think that they are masterminding, but they're not masters of anything. They're just good at selling, manipulating, sales pitch, and just using fear to cajole people to do things. The fear of loneliness, isolation, the fear of not belonging, the threat of death, the threat of not belonging. That's our most primal fear, because primarily, we don't survive if we are not together, belonging. So it's a deep fear. And we're being called at this time. I haven't spoken about these things publicly because I think people really need to learn and dive inside and discover. And I don't want to feed things to people. We need to work our muscle back into our spiritual muscle, our soul muscle. Because no amount of listening to somebody else will actually wake us up. It's like a little fairy dust. We can be nudged, prodded, but pushed, screamed at, whispered. But ultimately, it's our own 2 feet that walk the walk, our own mouth that talks the talk, our own thoughts. And we're not going to get there without, exploring ourselves. It doesn't do any good just to take someone else's thought and just make it our own. Take what I'm saying or somebody else that says something opposite or similar. We have to chew on it, take it in, ingest it, and integrate what is inside of us and unravel discover what's true for us. So, my plea, my literally begging, is that a positive thing to say? Hope. What I that word just doesn't. Oh,